Hi guys, and welcome back to the Crochet Tour YouTube channel. In today's video I'm bringing you another Pokemon crochet tutorial, and this time it's for Raboot. So here he is. And these are the feet as well, so there's like little details, and this is him from the back. So this was a request by Silversmith Charms, so I hope you like this video. I suppose it makes sense seeing as I made a Score Bunny tutorial that I also make a Raboot one, and maybe I'll also do the final evolution. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but yeah, maybe that'll be a future video as well. But yeah, so for this video I'd say that it is a longer tutorial, so this will take you a bit of time to make. You will need to invest quite a lot of time in making this. The crochet pieces themselves, again, are not particularly complicated. I'd say the difficulty is sewing all the pieces together. I do try and provide some guidance for this, and I do have to say in advance, I'm sorry, there's a couple of times when I accidentally hit the camera when I'm trying to show you how I sew the parts together. I'm really sorry about that. It's just because the way that my camera's set up, it makes it a bit awkward when I'm trying to film big projects like this, so apologies for that. But hopefully it's helpful, the little clips that I've shown you of me sewing parts together, and other than that, yeah, that's basically it. So if you're interested in finding out how to make Raboot, then please keep watching, and as always the free pattern is available on my blog, which will be linked down below, so you can have that open while you watch the video, or you can just follow the written instructions if you feel comfortable doing that. So without further ado, let's get into what you need for this tutorial. For this tutorial you'll be needing aran weight yarn in the following colours: light grey, dark grey, red and yellow. Then you'll be needing some scissors. You'll be needing some black embroidery thread and some scrap black yarn. This is for adding various details such as the face and the lines on the hands and the feet to show the toes and the fingers. Then you'll be needing a crochet hook. This is a 4mm crochet hook, so if you're using aran weight yarn you'll probably want to go with 4mm, but if you're using a different weight of yarn then just size up or down as required. Then you'll be needing a yarn needle. This is for sewing all the pieces together. You'll need a stitch marker. I just use a scrap piece of yarn. You'll be needing felt in white, red and yellow. This is for the nose and then also the eyes. You'll be needing some scissors, some fabric glue. I use Fabri-Tac. You'll be needing some stuffing. You'll need a lot more than this, but this is just to show you. And then you may want some pins to help you keep things in place as you're sewing everything together. So that's everything you'll need for this tutorial. We're going to start off by making the head. So grab your light grey yarn, and you're firstly going to want to do 6 single crochets in a magic circle. Then for round 2, you're just going to want to increase in each single crochet all the way around. So now at the end of round 2 you should have 12 single crochets all the way around. Now I'm going to talk you through the next rounds because they're just standard increases in increments of 6 each round. So for round 3 you're going to want to do single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 4, 2 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 24 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 5, 3 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 30 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 6, 4 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 36 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 7, 5 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 42 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 8, 6 single crochet, increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 48 single crochets at the end of the round. Then round 9, 7 single crochet, increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 54 single crochets at the end of the round. So I will meet you when you get to the end of round 9. So I've been a bit naughty and continued crocheting past round 9, but once you've got to the end of round 9, all you want to do is 12 rounds of single crocheting all the way around, so that'll be round 10 to 21, and then you should end up with something that looks a bit like this. So if you come back once you've finished doing that, then I'll show you what the next few rounds look like. So for round 22, we're going to start off by doing 7 single crochets. And then you're going to do a decrease. And you're going to repeat that 5 more times, and that's going to get you to 48 single crochets at the end of round 22. Then I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds because they're pretty similar. So for round 23, you're going to do 6 single crochet, decrease, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 42 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 24, 5 single crochet, decrease, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 36 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 25, 4 single crochet, decrease, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 30 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 26, 3 single crochet, decrease, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 24 single crochets at the end of the round. And then round 27, 2 single crochet, decrease, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. And I'll meet you at the end of round 27, as that's when we need to start stuffing. So I just got to the end of round 27 and I've just stuffed the head firmly at this point, so you're probably going to want to do the same. Then we've just got 2 more rounds to go. So round 28, you're just going to do single crochet, decrease, and repeat that 5 more times to get you to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. And then round 29, just decrease all the way around, and that'll get you down to 6 single crochets at the end of the round. So I'll meet you at that point, as we're then going to close up the hole, finish off the head, and then we're going to move on to making the ears. So I got to the end of round 29, and now we're just going to close up the hole, as I mentioned. So if you just cut your yarn leaving a bit of a tail, then we're just going to weave that tail through the front loops of each of the 6 single crochets. So sorry. And if you pull tight, that should close up the hole, as you can see here. So then you just need to feed your yarn tail through to a random other stitch like this, and then you can just cut it because we don't need this anymore. And now you should have your head. So as I mentioned, the next thing we're going to make is the ears, so we're going to be using our light grey yarn again for that. So I've already made one of the ears, and this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. Raboot's ears are quite long, so that's why this looks like quite a long piece, but yeah, if you look at a picture of Raboot, then that is actually quite proportionate to the head. So to start off with, you're just going to do 6 single crochets in a magic circle like we did for the head. And then, to be honest, I'm just going to talk you through the remaining rounds for the ear because it's not very complicated. So for round 2, it's just single crochet all the way around. Round 3, you're going to increase all the way around, and that'll get you to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. Rounds 4 to 5, you're going to single crochet all the way around. Round 6, you're going to do single crochet, increase, and repeat that 5 more times to get you to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 7 to 28, you're going to single crochet all the way around, and like I say, I know that seems like a lot of rounds, but the ears are long, so it is necessary. And then finally for round 29, you're just going to do single crochet, decrease, and repeat that 5 more times to get you back down to 12 single crochets at the end of round 29. And then there is a little bit of extra work to do at the end of round 29, but I'll talk you through that when you get to that point. So I will meet you at the end of round 29. So I've reached the end of round 29 and this is what the ear is looking like. So to finish off, we're just going to do an extra 3 single crochets to bring us to the edge of the ear. So 1, 2, 3, and then you're just going to turn and you're going to do 6 single crochets in the other direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and that is it. That's all you need to do for the ear. So we're just going to cut our yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. Pull your yarn through, and there we go. So you'll obviously need to repeat those steps once more so that you have the 2 ears like I have here. So yeah, if you get going with that, then I will show you how to make the yellow piece that we need to sew to the inside of the ear. I've already crocheted one of the inner ear pieces, so this is what it's going to look like when you're finished. So if you grab your yellow yarn, I'm going to show you how to do this. So to start off with, you're just going to want to chain 15. Then you're going to, starting from the second chain from hook, just single crochet all the way across. So that'll be 14 single crochets, and you can single crochet into the front loops, but I prefer to single crochet into these back loops, but it's totally up to you. Doesn't make a massive difference, but I just think it looks neater this way. So okay, and now when you've done your 14 single crochets, then you're just going to start working in the other side of the chain and do another 14 single crochets, and that should get you back to the end. So okay, so that's that, and that's all you have to do for this. So just cut your yarn. I'd say leave a fairly long tail for sewing, just to be on the safe side. And also you're probably just going to want to cut this little tail to get rid of it. Okay, so yeah, obviously you need 2 of these, so once you've got 2 of these, come back to this video and I'll show you how to sew these to the to the inside of the ear. So to sew the inner yellow piece for the ear, I'm just going to use a whip stitch to do this. So to start off with, I'm going to sew into one of these top single crochets just like this, and then all I'm going to do is go into this next yellow single crochet and then pick a nearby grey stitch and just weave my yarn through like that, and then I'm going to just keep doing the same thing, so into a yellow single crochet and into a grey stitch. So just like that, you're just going to keep doing that all the way down to the end, and then you're going to come back along the other side and you're going to finish off at this point here. So I'll meet you when you've finished sewing that down all the way round. I've sewn the inner ear piece down all the way now, so I'm back to the end here, and all I'm going to do is just feed my yarn tail through to one of these yellow stitches. Oops, I've accidentally taken a loop out of another one. There we go. Just like this, and I'm just going to cut that. So you'll obviously need to do that for both ears again, so I've done both of mine here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to sewing these to the head, so I will show you how to do that now. I've sewn down one of the ears now, as you can see, and I just want to give you a bit of a guide as to how I do it. These pins in the front are just a guide for me to know where I want the front of the face to be, so you might want to do a similar thing for yourself. But as you can see, this ear is roughly sewn down at round 6, so I'm going to try and follow that same spacing on the other side as well. So I'm just going to thread my yarn needle with the tail that I left for sewing. I'm just going to position the ear such that the yellow part should be facing the head, and I'm just going to try and make this as symmetrical as possible. So I'm just going to find where round 6 is, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so it should go roughly here, and I'm just going to start whip stitching across. So I'm just trying to line this up as best I can. And don't worry, if you don't get it right the first time, you can always unpick it and redo it, and that's happened to me so many times I couldn't even tell you. So yeah, don't worry, it still happens to me all the time. So oh geez, sorry. Now I'm just going to have a look and see if I'm happy with the placement of that, and I think I am actually. I think that does look quite symmetrical. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'm not going to unpick it this time. Wow, that's unusual that happens, but there we go. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I like to sew down a few stitches at the side as well, just to keep it a bit more in place. So I'm going to do probably about 3 at the back and 3 at the front. So I'm going to just go down the side like this, doing some more whip stitches. So 1, 2, and maybe 3, that might be enough. I'm just looking at the other side. I might just do 1 more actually, I might do 4. And then I'm just going to feed my yarn tail back through to the front. Like this. And I'm going to do the same thing at the front. So I'm going to firstly go through this way, and now I'm going to start sewing down about 3 stitches on this side too. So 1, 2, just going to compare it to the other side and see again if I'm happy with it. I think I am happy with that, so now that I'm happy with it, I'm just going to feed the yarn tail through to a random stitch at the back, and then I'm just going to cut it. So yeah, so you just want to make sure that you do the same on both sides, and then once you've sewn down the ears, then we're going to start making the hair pieces that kind of go in between the ears. So I'll meet you once you've done that. So this is an example of one of the hair pieces we're going to be making. We need to make 3 of these, so I'm going to start off the second one. And they're all exactly the same. So to start off with, you're just going to do 3 single crochets in a magic circle. Then for round 2, you're just going to increase all the way around, and that's going to get you to 6 single crochets at the end of the round. And then I'm just going to talk you through the remaining rounds because they're, again, not particularly complicated. So for round 3, you're just going to single crochet all the way around. Round 4, you're going to do single crochet, increase, and repeat that twice more to get you to 9 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 5, you're going to do 2 single crochet, increase, and repeat that twice more to get you to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 6 to 9, you're going to single crochet all the way around. And then for round 10, you're going to do single crochet, decrease, and repeat that 3 more times to get you to 8 single crochets at the end of round 10. So basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make 3 of these hair pieces, but on the third one you're going to leave your yarn on the hook. So for the first one and the second one you can cut your yarn leaving a slight tail, doesn't need to be a long tail, and then yeah, for the third one just make sure that you leave your yarn on the hook. So I'll meet you when you have your 3 hair pieces, and then we're going to join them all together. So I've got my 3 hair pieces, now I'm going to join them together in round 11. So I'm going to start off by doing 4 single crochets into the hair piece that's already on my hook. And I'm going to mark the first stitch just to remind myself where the round started. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to go into one of the other hair pieces. I'm going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. I'm going to join the 2 together, so it doesn't really matter which single crochet you go into first. So I'm going to go into this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then I'm going to go back to this other hair piece here, and I'm just going to do 4 single crochets, and that should bring me up to the stitch before the marked stitch here. So to know which one to go into first, I'm going to count 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then finally I'm gonna go into the final hair piece that I haven't crocheted into yet, and I'm just going to join this one in as well, and I'm going to do 8 single crochets all the way around this one too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So for the next round, just to be clear, the first stitch that you're going to be working into is this one here. Hopefully you marked it as well, it just makes it a bit clearer to see. And now at the end of round 11 you should have 24 single crochets all the way around. So I've been a bit naughty again and skipped on ahead, so apologies for that, but all I've done is for round 12 I've just single crocheted around once more, so just make sure that you do that. And then once you've done that, you're going to want to stuff the hair pieces. Then you just want to cut your yarn, leaving a long tail for sewing, and then we're going to start sewing this to the head between the two ears. For sewing this down, I'm just going to use a whip stitch again, so I'm just going to go in through one of the grey single crochets like so, and I'm going to try not to loop it around one of the hair pieces, so just like this, and then I'm just going to pick a nearby grey stitch to go into, so perhaps this one. And then I'm going to go into the next one and pick another nearby stitch. And I'm just going to keep going around like that until I come back to the place where I started, so I'll meet you once you've done that. I've now sewn the hair all the way around, and this is what it looks like. So yeah, now we're gonna move on to making the yellow bandana that also goes between the ears. So this is done in rows, so you're going to want to start off by doing a foundation chain of 31. Then you're going to, starting from the second chain from hook, just single crochet all the way back down, so that'll be 30 single crochets. And as I previously mentioned, I like working in the back loops, so I'm going to do that again now. So I'm just going to do my 30 single crochets all the way to the end, and I will meet you when you've got to that point as well. So once you've done your 30 single crochets all the way to the end, that is the end of row 1. So we're going to start the second row now. So all you need to do at the beginning of the row, is to chain 1 and turn, and then you're just going to single crochet all the way across again. So that'll be 30 single crochets again. So that'll be row 2, and then for rows 3 and 4, you're just going to do the exact same thing. So chain 1, turn, and do 30 single crochets across. So I'll meet you at the end of row 4. So I got to the end of row 4, and this is what it should be looking like. All I've done is I've just cut my yarn, leaving a fairly long tail for sewing, and now I'm going to pin this piece down, and I'm going to start whip stitching all the way around in the same manner that I did for the yellow inner ear piece. So I'll show you once I've pinned this down. So the bandana is all pinned down now, and I'm just going to start whip stitching it down. And yeah, I'm just going to be doing that all the way around, so I'll meet you when you finish that. So once you've done your 30 single crochets all the way to the end, that's the end of row number 1. I've sewn down the headband now, so I'm just going to weave this yarn tail through to a random yellow stitch and then just cut this. So now the final thing we need to do is to cut out our felt pieces and add the face details. So if you grab your felt now, let's cut those pieces out. So the felt pieces you're going to want to cut out are 2 larger white semicircles, 2 smaller red semicircles, and then 2 very small white semicircles, and you're going to want to glue all of those together. And then for the nose you just want to do a little rounded triangle like this, and then you're just going to glue these down to the head. Just kind of use a picture of Raboot for guidance in terms of where exactly to place these, so roughly kind of like this, but I'll show you once I've glued mine down. So I've glued down those felt pieces now, and the final step is to add the mouth. So I've got some black embroidery thread and my yarn needle. I'm just going to thread that through to underneath the nose. And then you just need to do a straight line. You can do it however far you want really. I guess mine might go, yeah, around here. So that's that. You can either stop at this point or you can add a mouth. It doesn't really matter because there's kind of like a long neck on the top that Raboot wears, so it actually covers up this part of the head if you look at a picture. So you could just leave it like this, but like I say, I might just add a little mouth here, so I'll just show you once I've done that. So as you can see, I had a little play around with the mouth, and this is what I ended up going with. So kind of like an angry looking face, because when I looked up pictures of Raboot, the only ones I could find where the mouth was showing seemed like he had an angry expression, so that's why I went for this. But yeah, you can kind of do whatever you want. As I say, it probably won't be visible because of the neckline of the kind of top that Raboot wears. So yeah, that is everything now for the head. That's complete. So now we can move on to making the body. So for the body, we're going to start off with our dark grey yarn, and we're going to firstly do 6 single crochets into a magic circle. Then I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds because they're just standard increases in increments of 6. So for round 2, you're going to increase all the way around. That's going to get you to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 3, single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 4, 2 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 24 single crochets at the end of the round. And then round 5, 3 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 30 single crochets at the end of the round. So I'll meet you at the end of round 5. So I got to the end of round 5 and this is what it's looking like. So now for the next 6 rounds, we're just going to single crochet all the way around. So I'll meet you at the end of round 11. So I got to the end of round 11 and now we're going to start doing some decreases in round 12. So we're going to do 3 single crochets and then a decrease. And you're going to repeat that pattern 5 more times and that'll get you to 24 single crochets at the end of round 12. So for round 13, we're going to start doing some colour changing. So we're going to start off by doing 10 single crochets in dark grey, and I'm just marking the first stitch to remind me where the round started. So this is the 10th single crochet, and I'm going to pull through in red because we're going to be changing our colour to red now. So now I'm going to do 3 single crochets in red. And again on the third I'm going to pull through in grey to change back to dark grey. And then I'm just going to do 11 single crochets in dark grey, which should bring me to the end of the round. And you do have a choice at this point. You could carry your red yarn all the way around because we are going to be changing to red again in the next round, but I'm personally going to choose to snip the yarn and reattach it again in the next round. So just doing that now. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through the next couple of rounds because I've shown you how to do the colour change now. So for round 14 you're going to do 9 single crochets in dark grey, 6 single crochets in red, and then 9 single crochets in dark grey. Then for round 15 you're going to do 8 single crochets in dark grey, 9 single crochets in red, 7 single crochets in dark grey. And just as a pointer for you, for round 16 onwards they're all going to be worked in red. So for the final single crochet of round 15 you want to pull through in red so that you're ready to work in red for the remaining rounds of the body. So I'll meet you at the end of round 15. So I got to the end of round 15 and this is what it should be looking like now. So as I mentioned, we're now just going to be solely working in our red colour for the remaining rounds of the body. So for the next round you're just going to be doing 2 single crochet decrease and repeat that 5 more times. That will get you down to 18 single crochets at the end of round 16, and yeah, work all of that in red. So I'll meet you once you've done that. Oh, and I forgot to mention, but you'll probably want to stuff the body firmly at this point. It doesn't matter if you don't do it until the very end, but it may just be easier for you to reach in at this point. So yeah, that's my recommendation. So now for round 17, we're going to start increasing again. So we're going to do 2 single crochet increase and repeat that 5 more times to get us to 24 single crochets at the end of the round. But we are just going to be doing it in the front loops only, and the reason for this is we want to leave these back loops available so that we can use them for sewing to the head later on. So yeah, so we're going to just be working in the front loop. So I'll just show you an example of that. So just front loop only. So 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then an increase. And yeah, if you repeat that 5 more times, then you'll get 24 single crochets at the end of the round. So I'll meet you at that point. So I reached the end of round 17, sorry, and now for the next few rounds we're just going to be increasing again in standard increments of 6. We're going to be working in both loops from now on. So as I mentioned, we were only working in the front loops for the last round, just so that we leave these back loops available for sewing later on. So for round 18 you're going to do 3 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 30 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 19, 4 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 36 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 20, 5 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 42 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 21, 6 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 48 single crochets at the end of the round. And then finally round 22, 7 single crochet increase, repeat that 5 more times to get you to 54 single crochets at the end of the round. So I will meet you at the end of round 22. So I got to the end of round 22 and now we need to do a few rounds of single crocheting all the way around. So that'll be 4 rounds that we need to do that. So that'll be rounds 23 to 26. So I'll meet you at the end of round 26. So I got to the end of round 26, and that's all we need to do in terms of actually crocheting this piece. So this is what it should look like at the end. So you've got this part that's going to be covering up the bottom half of the head, and then you've got the little body down here. So I'm sure you probably realise this, but don't stuff this part. It doesn't require any stuffing. So now we're going to cut our yarn, leave quite a long tail for sewing. Again, as always, I would just recommend leave more than you think you're probably going to need, just because it makes it a bit easier. And then what we're going to do is, just for a bit of additional neatness, I'm going to finish off with a fake single crochet here. This is optional. You could slip stitch into the next stitch, but I prefer this way of finishing off. So I'm just going to turn my work like this. And then I'm just going to skip this next single crochet and go into this one here. I'm going to pull the yarn tail through, and then I am going to go into that final single crochet from round 26, and I'm going to go into the front loop only from our current perspective, and I'm just going to pull that yarn tail through again. And now this leaves us with a fake single crochet here, and now it's kind of hard to tell where the round ended for this piece. I mean, to be fair, this is going to be at the back anyway, so it's really not the end of the world if it looks a little messy, but I just like to be neat where it's kind of easy, get some easy wins in. So I probably will just knot once near where I've done the fake single crochet, just to keep it in place. Don't pull too tightly when you're doing this, because it might misshape that fake single crochet. But yeah, I'm just going to pull through here, and then I'm just going to do a knot like this. So we need to use this tail to sew the head to the body, and obviously, as I mentioned before, we're going to be using these 3 back loops that are available from the round where we just single crocheted into the front loops only. So I'm just going to feed the yarn tail through to that point, so I'm just going to go through a few stitches at a time to do that. Doesn't matter if this isn't neat, because you won't really see this, because this is on the inside part that's going to be facing the head. So I'm just going to do this all the way to the end because it's taken a bit of time. So yeah. So I fed the yarn tail all the way through to this part here that we're going to actually be sewing to the head. So I did a little knot here as well, just to keep it in place. And now I'm just going to be doing standard whip stitches all the way around to sew these available back loops to the head. So I'm going to be going into a red loop first, and then I'm going to be going into a grey loop of the head. I'm really sorry if I don't show this very well, but the pieces are quite big, so it's a little bit hard for me to get this on camera. But effectively, you obviously want to make sure that this part here where we've been doing the colour changes, and there's those 3 red single crochets that we did to start with, those should be positioned so that they're in line with the centre of the face. So if you just make sure that you do that when you're sewing all the way around, then that'll get things in the right position. So as you can see here, this actually needs to be turned around, and then we can start crocheting into the back. And we basically just need to pick a light grey loop like this one, for example, and just feed our yarn tail through to there, and then we'll go into the next red back loop that's available and go into another nearby grey loop. So this can be a little bit fiddly, but just keep with it, keep doing it all the way around, and then I will meet you once you've done that, and we'll talk about the next steps. So I finished whip stitching all the way around, as you can see, and once you've done this, you're going to want to turn your work back round so that you've got the front facing you, and you're just going to want to flip this part up and have a look and see if you're happy with the placement. So it should roughly sit just below the eyes like this, maybe one single crochet gap or something like that. Obviously it depends on how exactly you've placed your headband and your eyes as to what yours is going to look like. But if you're not completely happy with the placement, or maybe this part is wonky and not quite on centre, don't be afraid to unpick and just restart your whip stitching all the way around, and just make a note of where you should start this time. So have a look and see which single crochet you went into. Sorry, when I say single crochet I mean which light grey loop that you whip stitched into the first time round, and just make a note to maybe move back a couple of stitches or move forward a couple of stitches, depending on whatever the issue is in terms of your positioning. But really you do just have to play around with it yourself, because your Raboot is going to have slightly different proportions to mine, just because of the fact that there's manual cutting out of these felt pieces here, and the type of yarn that we use is going to be slightly different, and you're going to have sewn your headband down in probably a slightly different position as well. But if you're happy with how this looks, and I'm happy with mine, then you can stop here. I'm only going to sew round once, because if I shake this, it's very secure in place. I don't need to sew round again for stability, but you might want to check that yourself as well. And also you have the option, if you want to sew this part down. You could sew the top part down if you don't want anyone to have the option of being able to pull it back like this. But personally, I want to leave it as it is. I want to have the option to pull it, whoops, sorry, I hit my camera. I want to have the option to pull it back, hence why I put a mouth at the front here, just so that there is actually something underneath if you pull this down. So yeah, so because I'm happy with that, I am just going to feed my yarn tail through to any stitch at the back like this. Sorry for the hitting of the camera. Like I say, it's quite a big object, and it is easy for me to forget where my hand placement is, so sorry for that. So yeah, I'm just pulling this through like this, and then I can just cut this. So yeah, that is the body sewn down. So now let's move on to the next part. So the next thing we're going to be making is the little pocket that Raboot has on the front of his dark grey top. So if you grab your dark grey yarn again, we're going to be working in rows this time. So we're going to start off by chaining 8. And then, as we've done for the bandana, we're just going to be working across the chain, starting from the second chain from hook, and we're going to just do 7 single crochets across. And as always, I'm going to be working into these back loops. I'm just going to be crocheting over this tail as well, just to keep that in place. Okay, so that's the end of row 1. So now for row 2, you're going to start off by chaining 1, then you're going to turn, and then you're going to do 7 single crochets across. Then for row 3, you're going to chain 1, turn, and you're going to do a decrease to start with. And then you're going to do 6 single crochets across, 5 single crochets across, and that will get you to 6 single crochets at the end of row 3. Then finally for row 4, you're going to chain 1, turn, decrease at the start of the row, and then do 4 single crochets across to the end of the row. And this is what the finished piece should look like. So now you can cut your yarn, leaving a bit of a tail for sewing. And now I'm just going to pin this down to where I want it to go on the front of the body, and then I'm going to start sewing this down. So I've pinned the pocket down, and when I sew it down I'm just going to be whip stitching across the top and the bottom row, because obviously I want it to be accessible from the sides. So yeah, I'm just going to go across the top. Sorry. And I'm not going to show you the whole process because it's basically the same as all other whip stitching that I've ever showed you. So yeah, just going to be whip stitching the top and the bottom row. So I'll meet you when I finish that. So as you can see, that is now all the way sewn across at the top and bottom. I can still fit my fingers into the sides here, and I just like to keep it like that because then it sort of adds to the 3D effect of this. If you sew it down, it might just look a bit flat and it might get lost because it's the same colour as the top itself. So yeah, so that is now finished. So now we're going to move on to making the feet and the legs. So next we're going to move on to the feet and legs, and I've shown you the 3 parts that we need to make for this. So this is the foot, this is the leg, and then this is the little like yellow semicircle that's on the foot if you look at a picture of Raboot. So we're going to start off by making this piece first, which is the foot. So if you grab your red yarn, we're going to start off using that. And so we're going to just start off by doing 5 single crochets in a magic circle. Like this. That's the end of round 1, and I'm just going to talk you through the remaining rounds for the foot because they're not particularly difficult, and I've shown you colour changes already in this tutorial. So if you don't know how to do a colour change, then skip back to one of the previous points where we did a colour change. So for round 2, you're just going to increase all the way around. That's going to get you to 10 single crochets at the end of the round. Rounds 3 to 8, you're going to single crochet all the way around in your red colour. Then for round 9, you're going to change to dark grey, and then for rounds 9 to 11, you're just going to single crochet all the way around in your dark grey colour. And then I will meet you at the end of round 11 because that's when we're going to need to stuff the foot, and then we're going to do the final round together. Got to the end of round 11 and I've stuffed the foot moderately, so now we're just going to do round 12 together. So for round 12 you just literally need to decrease all the way around, so that will get you to 5 single crochets at the end of the round. Now we're just going to cut our yarn, don't worry about leaving a long tail. And then you're just going to feed the tail through the front loops of each of those 5 single crochets and then just pull to close it. And then just feed that yarn tail through. And then snip that because we won't be needing that. So now we have our foot, and I would just flatten it a little bit and make sure that wherever the colour changes you position that to the side so that it's less visible. That's just a tip from me. So yeah, now we have both our feet, as you can see here. So now I'm going to show you how to make the leg to go with the foot. So let's move on to that next. So if you grab your dark grey yarn for the leg, we're going to start off by chaining 8, and you want to make sure that you actually leave a long tail at the start when you're chaining, because we're going to be needing to sew down this top part of the leg and the bottom part as well, so it's good to leave a long tail at the start here. It just makes your life a little bit easier. So yeah, if you just chain 8, then all you're going to do is you're going to single crochet all the way around, starting from the first chain that you did, and you're going to make a circle basically doing that. So if you go into this first chain here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's our first round, and then for rounds 2 to 10, so 9 more rounds, you're just going to want to single crochet all the way around, so 8 single crochets per round. So yeah, I will meet you at the end of round 10. So I got to the end of round 10 and this is what it looks like. So now all we need to do is just cut the yarn, leaving again a tail for sewing at the top as well. So we should have 2 tails, one at this end and one at this end, because we're going to be needing to sew one part to the body and one part to the foot. So now we can move on to making the little yellow semicircle that goes on the foot. So this is going to be extremely quick. All you need to do is just do 4 single crochets in a magic circle, and then pull tight to close up the hole. And as you can see, this just creates a semicircle shape. It doesn't actually create a full circle, so we're just going to leave it at that, and that's it. So if you just cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing, and you just pull that tail through. You might just want to weave this other tail in through a back loop. So I'm just going to do that. And then you can just cut that. So that is our yellow semicircle finished. So now we can start sewing the pieces together. So I've done one of the legs just to show you what it's going to look like. So obviously the leg is sewn to the foot here, and then as you can see the little semicircle is sewn to the back of the foot, and then I've also added a bit of detail for the toes here with black scrap black DK yarn, I think it is. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to sew down the yellow semicircle bit, and I'm just cutting a yarn tail that I had online. Okay, so we're just going to thread our yarn needle like this. We're going to take this semicircle and we're going to place it where the colour change happens, so here, and I'm just going to whip stitch around. So just like that, and then all I'm going to do is just feed the tail through to the back. And then I'm going to cut that, and then I'm going to push that back in. So there we go. Now let's move on to sewing the leg. So you're going to turn the foot over, and you're going to get your leg and thread your yarn needle. Now I think it looks better if you sew down round 10 to the foot, and then you sew down round 1 to the body, but it doesn't really matter, but I've just found that's the best way to do it. So I'm just going to be whip stitching around again, so I'm going to try and show you the best I can. Okay, so I've now gone all the way around, as you can see. So again, I'm just going to feed that yarn tail through probably to about here, and I'm just going to cut that. So now grab some stuffing. You're going to want to add some stuffing to the leg. So the leg is now stuffed, and I'm just going to add the little toes detail using some black embroidery thread. Not embroidery thread, sorry. I'm actually using scrap yarn because I want the line to be thicker than it would be using embroidery thread, but you could use that if you want to. So I'm just going to go in. There's not really an exact science to this. I'm just trying to copy the way I did it on the other foot as well as I can, basically. Yep, I think that's pretty similar, so I'm happy with that. So I'm just gonna again feed my yarn tail through to the back. And now I'm just going to cut. And now we have our 2 legs. So now we just need to sew these to the body, so let's do that now. So as you can see, I've sewn down one of the legs here, just to show you. So you're going to want to effectively just sew them. So if you look at the bottom here, it's roughly at round 2. And then, yeah, just kind of position it like this. So I'm going to try my best to do a little bit of this on camera, but it is a little bit awkward because my camera's not too high up and this thing is quite big, so I might hit the camera, and this isn't the nicest position to be sewing in, but I'll try my best to do a few stitches just to show you. So I'm just going to whip stitch around. And yeah, I'm going to basically just do that all the way around. So I'll meet you when I've done it once, because I don't know whether you can notice, but I did sew this around twice, and I'm going to show you why in a second. So this leg has been sewn down once, and as you can see it's a bit floppy, whereas this one is not anywhere near as floppy as that. And also as you can see there's a bit more of a gap here, whereas on this leg there's a bit less because I sewed around twice. So I am just going to do obviously the same thing on this leg. So basically I'm just going to go into some lower down stitches, so here for example, and I'm just going to bring these up. So just going to go like this. And I'm going to just do that all the way around until I get back to where I started. So I'll meet you when you've sewn around again. So I finished sewing around twice, and this is what it looks like. So now it's a lot less flexible. So I'm just going to feed the yarn tail through to the back. And then I'm going to cut both of these tails that I have at the back. So that is the legs. So now we're going to move on to making the arms. So I've made one of the arms here to show you what it's going to look like when we're done. So if you grab your light grey yarn to start with this time, then we're just going to start off by doing 5 single crochets in a magic circle. And then that's the end of round 1, so you've got your 5 single crochets. Then I'm just going to talk you through the remaining rounds because again there's no like new or special techniques that we're going to be using for the arm, it's just standard single crochets. So for round 2 you're going to increase all the way around to get you to 10 single crochets at the end of the round. Rounds 3 to 5 single crochet all the way around in your light grey colour. Then for round 6 you need to change to red, and in round 6 you're going to just single crochet all the way around in red. Then round 7 you're going to do 3 single crochet decrease and repeat that once more, and that will get you to 8 single crochets at the end of the round. Then finally rounds 8 to 13 you're just going to single crochet all the way around. So I'll meet you at the end of round 13 as we'll then need to stuff lightly, and then we're going to slip stitch across to close. So I got to the end of round 13 and I've stuffed the arm lightly, so now we're just going to slip stitch across to close. So that's going to be 4 slip stitches. Just flatten it out a bit like that, and now you can just cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. And now you're just going to want to add like finger details in the same way that we did for the toes, so I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to show you how to sew the arms to the body. So I've sewn down one of the arms and this is what it looks like. So you're basically just going to whip stitch across, just like you've been doing when you've been sewing pieces down for the legs, for example. And just one tip that I will give you is I did sew down a couple of stitches either side of the arm as well, just to keep it a bit more flat to the body rather than sort of moving around. So yeah, if you just kind of position your arm however you're happy with, just make sure that it kind of looks neat as well. And then if you just slip stitch, sorry I keep saying slip stitch, I mean whip stitch across. You can tell it's late and I'm trying to finish this video, so yep, if we just go across like that. And yeah, if you just do that all the way to the end and then just sew down a couple of stitches either side, then that should be good. Finished sewing down both arms, and this is what it's looking like. So now there's only a few more bits left to do, so we just need to make these little red spikes that come out between the arms and this part here, and then there's also the tail to do on the back. So let's make the little red spikes first. So we need to crochet 4 of these spikes in total, and I've done 3 of them here, so you can just see what they look like. They're quite quick to do. So you just need to start off by doing 3 single crochets in a magic circle. And that's the end of round 1, and then simply all you do is round 2 increase 2 single crochet, so then you'll have 4 single crochets at the end of round 2, and then rounds 3 and 4 just single crochet all the way around. So I'll meet you at the end of round 4. So I got to the end of round 4, and I'm just going to cut my yarn now, leaving a tail for sewing. So now all we're going to do is we're just going to sew 2 of these to each arm, basically. So at this point here, so roughly looking like that, and I'm just going to whip stitch around like I normally do, so I'm not going to bother showing you that because it is pretty repetitive at this point. But yeah, I'm just going to do that on both sides, and I'll show you when I've finished, and then we'll just make the tail and then we'll be done. So those are now sewn down either side. So as I mentioned, the final step is just to make the tail, so grab your light grey yarn and let's do that. So for the tail, you're going to want to start off by doing 6 single crochets in a magic circle for round 1. So that's the end of round 1. Then for round 2, you're just going to want to increase all the way around. That's going to get you to 12 single crochets at the end of round 2. Rounds 3 to 4, single crochet all the way around. At the end of round 4, you might want to add a little bit of stuffing to the tail. And then round 5, just decrease all the way around to get you back down to 6 single crochets. So I'll meet you at the end of round 5. So I'm at the end of round 5, and that's all the rounds for the tail. So you're just going to cut, leaving a tail for sewing. And now all you need to do is just grab your Raboot and turn him over and just sew the tail roughly about here on the back of Raboot. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to show you the finished product. So that is the end of the tutorial, and here is the finished Raboot. So this is from the front, and then this is from the back. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye guys!